All right, this is showing us on our channel.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Coming to you live, raw, and uncensored from Studio 107. Welcome to the SOL Podcast. Wake up, America, with your host, Drew Baker, Shake and Bake.
We're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House! Yeah!
Matt Dixon, the Iron Man.
When you're going through hell, keep going.
And Kelsey Lee, Special K.
I'm an extremely stable genius.
A podcast dedicated to protecting your rights by exploring the law, politics, and current events. You have the right to remain silent and listen, or call in and become a part of the show. And now, here's your host, Shake and Bake.
You have to love the Dean scream.
Best ever.
It really is.
Yeah, that was
It
a nice
really
touch.
is. I had to throw that in with everything else that the new intro had to offer. So, welcome back.
Nice to see you guys again.
Nice to see both of you. Special K checking in. How's it going today?
Pretty good. Yeah, a little frustrated with the
You-
topic we're going to talk about later on, but
you
we'll get to that.
frustrated? You never get frustrated.
Yeah,
about
I don't-
these
Yeah, I'm
things.
fired up. I'm fired up today.
I don't understand that.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Um,
Well, Iron Man, what about you? Are you in a frustrated state of mind? Are you
I'm not. I'm not frustrated. I'm in disbelief.
disbelief?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair
Absolute
enough.
disbelief.
Well, I think I would be in the same boat. And that's why we have started the Wake Up America Season 4, because after much conversation and discussion about what we should go or what direction we should go in, we decided that this is probably the better direction. I can say that it's nothing short on content. I think we're going to have lots of content to cover, which is always nice. But outside of that, obviously we've had a legal type show in the past, and we still intend to basically bring the law into anything that's a current event and still talk about legal related topics that somehow merge and mesh their way into the politics that are going on today, which clearly are probably more interesting and more controversial. I actually said to our law clerk here today, I said, this would be a very interesting time to be in law school because so many constitutional issues, so many things that are going on that, you would actually see some real application, I think, to what is happening in the real world, good or bad. At least you have something to do. I don't remember any of these issues being overly present when I was in law school. So with that said, season 4 is going to take that direction, just so that we're clear. We're still going to talk about the law, but we're certainly going to bring more politics in, talk more about an open forum. We want to hear your positions. We want to hear good and bad, whether you agree with us or not, whether we agree with you or not, doesn't matter. We just want you to call in, talk to us about it. I hope you have different opinions because I really truly believe that's how we solve problems. If we all think the same, how do we ever make anything better? When we think differently, we can come to maybe a common resolution that's going to make the world better for everybody. What do you think about that, Kelsey?
Well said. I agree.
And if you didn't get a chance to listen to Deep Thoughts by Shake and Bake,
That was good the other day. I like
did
that a lot.
a monologue. I was feeling motivated to write about some things as I drifted across this great country. So I put a
You
few
pa-
things down.
You painted a very nice picture, too, of your cross-country trip. I could see the amber waves of grain just in my head as you were talking.
Well, that's good. I try to be as descriptive as I can.
I had more of a vision of Clark Griswold driving the family truckster off a cliff, but nonetheless.
Well, that's not too terribly far off. Apparently, I had $7,000 worth of damage to my camper. I hit a tree and didn't know it. So
That's just a day in the life of Shake and Bake.
it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Things go great, but things seem to always take a funny turn. So there it is. All right. Well, today we're going to cover a topic that we have all talked about in one way, shape, or form. I've yet to see this come up in a way that has been discussed in all talk radio. And believe me, I spend way too much time probably on talk radio. But the idea that incompetence begets chaos. And where we're going with that is if we've got people who are not qualified to do the job, or we're using criteria to to put them in place of a certain position of employment, and they don't have the qualifications, but they meet other criteria that have nothing to do with that, then what generally happens is, it's going to shock you, they're unqualified for the position. And when you're unqualified for the position, what happens?
Chaos.
Chaos
And complete failure.
and failure and all kinds of bad things. And it does seem that there are different qualifications these days, or quite a few different qualifications that have nothing to do with merit, but instead have everything to do with checking a social box classification, everything from, our race, who we sleep with, things like that, that really at the end of the day, doesn't really speak one way or the other to our ability to do the job. There is a crazy rumor out there that the Biden administration tends to kind of center their staff in many ways around some of these qualifiers, and other places across the country are using these qualifiers to put people in certain positions. Have you heard that, Special K?
I think we actually talked about that on one of my first episodes. There was a local story of a lawyer that they hired for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and all the headlines were just like, first black woman lawyer
Right.
for the Blue Jackets. It's like, okay, but what are her qualifications for the job? And I'm not saying that she isn't qualified for it, but it's almost demeaning too to, if they are qualified, reduce it to, you got this job because you're a black woman.
Right. I think it was just offensive to say first black woman.
Yes.
I think that's
How about
offensive.
just how about just so-and-so is now the new, right? I mean, you essentially just said, we don't care what your qualifications are, or you may be completely qualified or unqualified, but we're just going to say, because this is who you are, you get the job.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
why not say, listen to my CV, listen to everything I've done in my past, listen to some of my, accomplishments.
Instead of first black woman, how about 20-year attorney,
Right.
who graduated first in her
very
class from
successful
so-and-so, whatever.
attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand that, but what I have this theory, and I can't say with certainty, I don't have, I guess, research to back this up, but I have a theory that one of the reasons that impressive removal of our troops and all of our people, I think they got everybody out, right? Everybody's out.
Everybody
sure.
that wants to get out is what Joe Biden's
Oh,
saying.
yeah. Most people probably want to stay there. It's such an open and free environment. I mean, women especially.
Yeah.
I would think most women would be really excited about camping it out in Afghanistan going forward.
It's the land of opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, you can go to work, but there are just a couple limitations. And, God forbid you show anything other than I don't
Your
know,
eyeballs, I think.
eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that sounds fun. I'm not a woman, but I can only imagine how enjoyable that would be.
It's on my travel bucket list.
Yeah, I would in fact, I'd go ahead and book your ticket now. And you might not want to come back like all those Americans that wanted
Yeah.
to stay when you think about it. But seriously, my position on this is very simple. I think that we have a lot of unqualified people in those positions for the wrong reasons, whether they, that's great. Whatever they do in their free time is none of my business, and really it's none of anybody's business. But are they qualified to do the damn job? And if the answer is no, why are they there? And if you get a bunch of unqualified people, you get chaos. And what did you have in Afghanistan?
Complete chaos.
Complete chaos.
Still have it.
Still have it. Still going on. The State Department is, obviously doing a great job of allowing other people to get private. It's odd that private institutions, charities, whatever, are going out to try to help these people. And they seem to be way more effective than the government. I find that to be just shocking to me because, generally speaking, they do such a good job when government involvement is actually the leader of the pack. Never any mishandling of funds or unorganization or any problems like that. So,
I mean, war on drugs, war on poverty.
it's
We've
just-
won all those, right?
It's
Yeah,
just so
everyone.
frustrating when we have private entities out there trying to help people and get people out of country, out of
Yeah.
Afghanistan, not even bringing them to the United States, going to other countries. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
and our State Department is saying no.
yeah, because they're not, they just don't have. I think a lot of it is because they don't want to look bad.
I mean,
they couldn't
how
do
many-
the job, so
how
somebody
many-
else does it. Doesn't that make you look like a piece of crap? Oh, geez,
How many people are we vetting on the southern border that cross illegally?
Right.
Oh, wait, none of them because they're coming here illegally. We're not finding them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but we won't get people out of the war-torn area who have documents who aren't even coming into our country. We won't assist.
Yeah.
and we'll block them.
And that's the hypocrisy. I mean, how many people in the last 9 months have come across our southern borders with little to no vetting and been placed in, ironically, areas where there tends to be a more conservative approach to things like COVID. And interesting, those numbers seem to have gone up in those areas. I don't know if there's any correlation there, but nonetheless, these people came over with absolutely no vetting or very little vetting, some probably not vetted at all. And look where we're at now with that. But we have to then shift in a hypocrisy type of way and say, well, hold on here. These people from Afghanistan, we better make sure that we got the right people. It's unreal. It really is unreal.
Yeah, the hypocrisy lately knows no bounds. So.
Yeah. And but speaking of Afghanistan, and speaking of our war on terror, and whether you think we should have been there or not, or whether you think we're going to go back, which I have a pretty good feeling that we kind of need some presence there. I think it won't be long before we'll have other troops there, maybe not the same amount. But if we remember back, I'll just tell a quick story that this really meant something to me. It was the one time in my 42 years that I can think I'd never felt closer as a country. And I think it was around, I would have been 20 or 21 years old when this occurred. But when 9/11 occurred, I was in Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, and I was doing a painting job. And I was painting with a good friend of mine, and his uncle owned a painting company. So it's exterior painting, about, I don't know, say 10 to 15 steps up on a ladder when the first plane hit. And we had a little old radio that hung off the ladder. We were listening to what happened. And Steve, the owner of the painting company, looked over at me and said, boy, that's just absolutely terrible. I can't believe that, how do you fly into a building? And shortly after that, the second plane hit. And I remember Steve literally being concerned, like, I think we need to get down off the ladder and find out what's really going on here. It wasn't long after that after watching the news, it clearly was indicated there was a terror attack on our country. However, outside of that terrible atrocity, I think it was Bush called for a moment of prayer. And I was driving up 43 to the Northwoods of Wisconsin. I don't recall the time. It may have been 8 o'clock or 8:30 when he had asked the whole country to come together and light a candle for a remembrance and a moment of prayer. I will never forget the sight that I saw. We pulled on the side of the road at 8:30, got candles out that Pete's mom had given us. And all the way up 43, which is a very flat road, all you could see were candles and cars pulled off on the side of the road. And there was not one car on a major thoroughway. It's not an interstate, but it's kind of like interstate. There was not one car on the road. Every car was pulled over that I could see, and candles were lit. And I thought, this is America. We are all together. We have found something we all agree in, which is, do not screw with our country, and do not screw with our families and our children's and all the people that were lost. So we thought at the SOL podcast, we would take just a moment of silence to remember those that were lost on that terrible day. Remember how united as a country we were at that time, in hopes that we can get back to that place without having another horrific incident like that. So if you'll just join us in a moment of silence. All right, and our thoughts and prayers go out to all those families that lost loved ones on that day, and the first responders. Many of them have died from their call to action during that time, whether it be from different cancers or other things that they contracted being around all of that building waste and whatnot. So, yeah, just a reminder. But we can get back there, don't you guys think? I mean, I think as a country, it shouldn't require a terrorist attack for us to try to find some common ground again.
It shouldn't, but I have a hard time seeing with how polarized everything is now, how we get back to that.
It's tough. I think it's going to be a long road to get there if we can. But I really hope that it comes in the form of something other than that. That would be very nice.
I mean, I think there was certainly of the idea that you don't mess with America, but
Yeah.
I think another part of it was simply Americans coming together and supporting one another in just generally our way of life, right? And the freedoms that we enjoy day in and day out. Since then, we have walked back
Yeah, we've walked back
completely
significantly.
backwards
Well,
on those rights and freedoms.
and you're absolutely correct. I'd like to talk about yesterday,
Definitely.
the just powerful address that I don't think had anything to do with taking any focus off of Afghanistan. I've heard some rumors out there that that's what that was all about, but I highly doubt it. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was something to do with that. But what a disgusting speech! I have to say, I could not believe the things that were coming out of our president's mouth, our commander in chief, our leader, the big guy, and
Corn Pop.
corn pop. To hear in my lifetime, I've never heard a president talk to Americans that way. I immediately felt like I was in some form of a dictatorship.
Well, I mean, I've heard it before, like when Joe Biden told us all that he would nuke us if we didn't turn in our guns and stuff. So I've heard it in my lifetime. It's just always been from Joe Biden.
Maybe that's a better way to say it. I haven't heard it from any other presidents in my
I've heard it a
lifetime.
lot from him ever since he got in office. So
Yeah, it was almost like I wanted to say, "Okay, Dad," like back when I was a rebellious little punk as a kid, and your dad would tell you things, and you just felt like I was being talked to like a child yesterday because I identify as being vaccinated, but apparently that's not good enough.
yeah, trans vax, right?
Trans vax, that's right. Yeah. So
But speaking of though the hypocrisy that we were talking about earlier, like before we can even talk about what Joe Biden said last night, we should talk about what
what he
his
said
stance.
before?
Yeah, what his
Oh,
stance
yeah.
was on this back in December.
well, I think it
'Cause-
was very clear. I doubt he would ever waver from this, but let's have a listen here. It's pretty quiet. I think you gave me a bad file.
No, sorry. The reporter is asking him if he supports vaccine mandates, and that part of it's really quiet.
Here we go.
President of the United States to encourage people to do the right thing, and when they do it, demonstrate that it matters.
Okay, that was super quiet. But
Yeah,
what did
all
he
of them
say?
are going to be quiet then. So basically, he just said at that point that he doesn't support vaccine mandates, and he just encourages all Americans to do the right thing. But he does not have the federal authority to
Mm,
impose private businesses to mandate the vaccine.
Okay, but that was how long ago?
December of 2020.
Okay,
And even as recently as July 23rd, Circle Back Girl, the redhead press secretary, she said the same
Gonna
thing.
circle back. Yeah. Well, and then so nothing's changed. He's still taking the position then that there should be no mandates. Is what you're telling me? Because he said
Until
that.
last night.
Oh, so last night it changed. And do we have a clip of that?
We do, but now I'm concerned that the audio is going to be too
How
quiet.
about
on
we
it.
do this? I'm going to go over there and turn it up. Okay, a little bit.
I think that's a good idea.
All
And
right.
in the meantime, I'm going to ask Kelsey a question for one of our listeners.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna digress for just a moment, but I am Rick has submitted a question here. He's asking, and we talked about this earlier, and they did this yesterday at the first game of the season for the NFL. Yeah, just yes. He asked, they're planning. Well, he states first they are planning on playing the Black National Anthem before some games. I think he's talking about football games, but probably some other sporting events as well. So the question is, would it be permissible to kneel while the Black National Anthem is being played?
Ooh,
Yeah.
good question.
So-
I am Rick. My gut is going to tell me that no, it won't be, and you will be canceled real quick if you kneel during the Black National Anthem.
Well, no, I think that this is a bigger question than the social aspect of it. If you've been opposed to kneeling during the national anthem, then you should be opposed to kneeling during the Black National Anthem, whether or not you support the Black National Anthem.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
think it's one and the same.
But I'm
I
not really
I was-
against the kneeling during the protesting. I feel like you can peacefully protest however you like, so that never bothered me too much. The people.
I was under
did
this
that.
crazy impression that we were all Americans. I didn't know that there was a Black American national anthem and a white American national anthem. I thought we were all Americans and we could just share one, but apparently that's not true. And I actually saw an article last night about it, and I read the comments, and they were not favorable. In fact, one person, I kind of like this, NFL, he basically had his own little acronym for that. No friends left, because everybody was leaving. And then I did see another comment that I found to be actually pretty interesting. I won't read all of that on the air. It may be taken the wrong way, but it was discussing privilege, the concept of white privilege. And this individual brought up a lot of things about the potential for black privilege, like having multiple holidays, having your own universities, having your own television network. And would that be, how would that be viewed if it was the other way around? And probably not very good in this political environment, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
So
definitely not.
It's a great thing to bring up, and thanks for writing that in, because it was a hot topic definitely online last night. I was following for a little while.
Oh, sure. And again, I think the reality of the situation is if you support kneeling during an anthem, then you support the idea of protesting.
Yeah,
in that format.
Like having a voice.
In that format.
If you think that's your voice, then that's your voice.
Right. And so that's why I think it would cross over from the national anthem to the Black national anthem. And again, Drew, I'm with you. I'm not sure why we have separate ones. There's a national anthem, which applies to everybody.
Right.
But then apparently there's a Black national anthem, which would only apply to African Americans.
Right. Yeah, I don't get that. It's very confusing for me. But hey, that's a good thing to bring up. I think the NFL may down the road, depending on what happens with their ratings and whatnot, that could change. So it could change, and because in a lot of ways it all comes back to the money.
Well, I think I mentioned I thought that the NFL was supporting some kind of a fine against NFL teams, but I take that back. I think it was actually an NBA team that was talking about doing that. It might have been Mark Cuban's Dallas Mavericks.
Is Mark Cuban woke?
Well, I think the NBA came out and said you will be fined if you play that and not the national anthem. So that's my memory. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I remember hearing. So I mentioned the NFL, but I think it's actually NBA.
And one thing I don't know, because I didn't watch
Fake
the game,
news.
because I'm not a big NFL fan, but I don't know if they did both. I think they just did one. I didn't see anything in the article about that they did one and then the next one, or vice versa. I think they only did the Black national anthem.
Okay.
But we'll double check that and see. Well, thanks again for that comment. That's a good comment. I'm happy you brought it up, because we did discuss that today. And I thought, geez, why is that necessary? Why can't we just be one America? If you want to kneel, I guess. If that's your way of showing your, your distaste for whatever's going on.
Well, that was a good digression from where we were, and we needed a minute to adjust some audio levels. So let's get back on track.
Get back on track. So, all right, Kelsey.
So this is what I made the clips of all the stuff that he was saying last night. There's so much good material from this.
Many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still not vaccinated, even though the vaccine is safe, effective, and free.
All right.
All right. So go ahead and hit number 2. We'll keep going here. Let's see.
When I became president, about 2 million Americans were fully vaccinated. Today, over 175 million Americans have that protection.
So how does he pat himself on the back for that statistic? Because when he came into the office, the vaccine was not widely available to everybody. They were still rolling it out based on your age, or how immune compromised you were, whatever. So the vaccines weren't available yet when he took office, but now that they're widely available, he's bragging. I don't know. That one just drives me crazy.
Well, he's been kind of going down that road, I think, for a while with some of the, riding the piggybacking on whatever Trump had done to try to take some credit. And I don't think that that's too far off what any president would do. I don't know that it's unique to Biden or any other president. I think politics comes first. It always comes first for these people.
Sure.
And that's what we have to remember, that a lot of times, even this approach, I believe, to try to shift us off Afghanistan, I do believe there's something to that. I think that there's a move here to try to get things,
Take the attention
take the
away.
media away from it, pull everybody away from what was a catastrophic screw up. And look at this, look at these vaccines. But as far as like the numbers go, we'll get into that later. I think the numbers are really interesting given that the vaccine was always supposed to be, 90% or more effective.
Right.
And then on top of the effectiveness, if I have it, you can't give it to me, even if you're not vaccinated. I mean, this is, again, a timeline of things that we've been told, which continues to change.
Well, yeah, all of the effectiveness numbers had us believing that you would not be able to get COVID.
No, no.
Right?
Once
If you
have-
take
yeah.
the vaccine, you can no longer get. Now, of course, that goalpost is not even moved. It's just gone.
It's gone.
Okay, the vaccine does not stop you from getting it, and it doesn't stop you from spreading it. Proven, discussed, talked about, everyone acknowledges that. But we were sold on a bill of goods for this vaccine that if you take it, you wouldn't get it.
Well, right.
It's
And what are we
90%
doing
effective.
now? What are we doing in Columbus?
Or we're-
Ginther decides.
Yeah, we're masking up again.
I went to court today. I haven't worn a mask to court since it was lifted. And the court decided to get rid of those same regulations. And you know what we're back to today? Mr. Baker, could you enter your appearance? Yes, Your Honor, my name is... I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I mean, that's what it was today at court. Every attorney that got up, the judge couldn't hear them, they couldn't hear the judge. Total disaster, i.e. chaos. I mean, it really was. And we're back there. We're back there again in the city of Columbus. And my guess is this is just going to spread like wildfire again. And we're going to be walking around like, want to be doctors again that wear our mask on top of our forehead and things like that. So I don't even want to get there. Let's go to clip number 3.
And then 3 months before I took office, our economy was faltering, creating just 50,000 jobs a month. We're now averaging 700,000 new jobs a month.
Now that one is fun.
Yeah, that's
Because when you can't work and then you're allowed to work again, I think the number's going to creep up pretty
same
quick.
thing as what he was just doing in the last
Yeah.
one.
Wait,
I'm
this
going to
was-
force you to shut down your business, put everybody on unemployment, and now when I allow people to go back to work again, I'm going to count that as creating jobs.
Now, wait, this was yesterday, right?
Yeah, last
Yeah,
night.
this
Okay,
was last
so
night,
the
yeah.
fantastic part about this is we recently had a jobs number release where they were expecting the creation of 750,000 jobs, but it was more like 250,000 jobs.
Because
right?
nobody actually wants to go back to work
So,
yet.
so there was no discussion of that. Like, oh, we were supposed to have 750,000 jobs, created, and
Right.
this economy didn't do that. So where's the accountability for that? Now, look, we talked about this a minute ago. Every president takes the prior president's successes and uses that
For political
themselves.
gain.
And all
Yeah.
of the failures, the buck stopped at the prior president, right? So every success that happens is theirs, and every failure is from the,
Is the
you know,
prior
preceding
administration.
administration.
Right.
And I get that. That's politics. But
But this one's like so ridiculous
Yeah, this
that
one's
you
so
can't even let
transparent.
it go because it's like, all right, if people can't work and people have been feeding off the unemployment checks for God knows how long now, and then all of a sudden the benefits dry up and many people wanted to go back to work. Let's be honest. They didn't want to milk the system. Like there are people out there that do it, but a lot of people just wanted to get back in action. And unfortunately, they weren't allowed to. So then all of a sudden the numbers, of course, are going to creep through the roof. And that was one that I just rolled my eyes.
well, and of course,
That's all I got.
the unemployment benefits haven't dried up. The national unemployment benefit, like the add-on to the state benefit, is what dried
Yeah, the
up.
additionals.
So
but
it's the
but
additional
sometimes that
money.
was enough to get people to say,
Oh, it's an extra 300 a week,
right?
or
Like
whatever.
I'm not going to make that much at my job, so why go back?
Yeah, or I can make about as much or just as much. It didn't even have to be
Yeah,
more.
It wouldn't have to be more. Just
But
I don't have to.
I don't
do
have to go to
anything for
work.
it. Yeah.
I would take a slight pay cut, to
Well, now they're talking about, people are afraid to go back to work because of COVID. But if we have the vaccine, and the vaccine's
No
three
problem.
quarters of the population, why
No
are we
problem.
afraid?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. All right. Cut 5? Or
4.
4. All right.
This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And it's
Uh-oh.
caused by the fact that despite America having unprecedented and successful vaccination program, despite the fact that for almost 5 months, free vaccines have been available in 1,000 different locations, we still have nearly 80 million Americans who have failed to get the shot.
Okay, to use the term fail, in my opinion, means like, it's a test. You just did a bad job at it. It takes all the choice out of it. You don't have a choice if you're in school. You have to take the test, so you pass or fail. I think fail's the wrong word. I think it's chosen.
I would agree with you. Yes.
Chosen to not get the shot. I don't think this is an availability issue, since it appears that the shots are everywhere. Sometimes I'm afraid when we walk outside, somebody's going to throw one at me like a dart. They're going to dart me on my way out of the office.
Please don't give him any ideas. Okay, that's going to be next.
Well, but really, let's kind of explore that. So I guess the argument there is there's not enough availability. Is that what we're saying?
There aren't enough jobs?
No, enough shots.
Vaccines, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, God.
No,
the
I think
master of distraction is
No, I think the argument there, as he'll go on to say, is those 80 million people are just selfish and don't care about public health or anybody but themselves. I don't think it's an issue that there's not enough. Because he says, in spite of the fact that they're safe, prove they're free, we have plenty of them, these people fail to do it.
Can I speak some common sense here?
I don't know. Can you?
I don't know. I have to say this, and I know I keep beating a dead horse on this topic, but if one more person tells me it's safe, I don't know if it's safe. Maybe it's very safe. Maybe it's not. But please do not tell me it's safe, because there's only been, 9 months of this to find out. Like, there's only from a testing standpoint, we know 9 months down the road. I don't even know if it's safe from the 9 months. I mean, we've heard some stories and read about people that have had some really, really bad things happen. We've read about people that have had nothing happen when they've taken the shot. But nonetheless, saying it's safe in such a short period of time, and again, here's where I'm beating the dead horse, no liability. Pharmaceutical, biggest industry literally in the world, is getting a pass. So that makes me feel unsafe. That's me.
And they have a history of doing things that
are
promote,
shady.
their own pockets, as opposed to caring about people's health.
Promote the green.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so
that sounds conspiracy.
So I'm tired of hearing how safe it is. But anyway,
we'll get to that in
we'll get
a few
to
minutes.
That in a minute. All right, 5.
Yep.
If you wonder how all this adds up, here's the math.
5
The vast majority of Americans are doing the right thing. Nearly 3/4 of the eligible have gotten at least one shot, but 1/4 has not gotten any.
That's some good
Crazy math skills.
Yeah.
That's
I wonder
really
if he
good.
used a calculator for that.
Really good.
Yeah, I had to actually write that down when he was saying it to figure it out. But so before we get too deep into the numbers, I think we should bring up Israel, who has I believe the highest world, vaccination of the population.
Correct.
In the
highest
rate of vaccination in the world
among its population. Yes.
And I think the last thing that I read was that they also have the highest COVID numbers currently per capita in the world. I think is what
that jives with what I read too.
Does it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now wait. Look. Full disclosure. I don't want to be clear and unambiguous. What are those numbers though? Because look, I don't know misinformation here. The vaccine, as we have found out, this is not what was sold to us at the beginning, but as we have found out, does not stop the spread of COVID. So I understand if they still have higher numbers. What I believe they say about the vaccine, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't get it. That's up to you and your doctors. But my understanding is the vaccine is supposed to help you stay out of the hospital and stay out of getting seriously ill, but not necessarily keep you from getting COVID. So what I am interested in Israel, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about
Israel. Okay. Are they talking about just
cases,
60,000 foot view
people
of cases, or do they have more sick people per capita now and more deathly ill people, or more ICU beds, or in the hospital, or whatever? I'm genuinely curious how those numbers bear out, because that's what I want to know. I want to know, does the vaccine actually protect those people, or are they still having extremely high numbers of ICU patients and those dying with the vaccine at such a high percentage of their per capita?
I see your point, and I understand that we have to adjust our thinking because of what we were told before and what we're being told now. But I think that is also the catalyst for folks that don't want to take the vaccine. It supports their argument. because it just continues to be more chaotic,
Right.
more confusing, more hypocritical, more just it's ebb and flow of information that continues to change one way or the other. And I think that's what they've done with this from a marketing let's look at this as a business. From a marketing campaign, worst job ever to get people to actually do something, because you've lost all credibility. You've changed so many times to say it's safe, to say, it's this percent effective, to say, oh, well, once you have it, you don't have to worry about getting it from somebody else, and you can stop wearing a mask. Oh, wait, now you have to wear a mask. I mean, this is like maybe the most chaotic thing that has ever really plagued the country in terms of so much bad information that you just can't find the real answer anywhere. And then that gets back to the reporting and everything else. We'll get to that. Cut 6.
Oh, wait, hold on, real
sorry.
fast.
All right.
Oh,
All right, let me cut it.
I just want to say you asked me to look this up, so just so we all know here, the current 7-day moving average for reported cases right now is 99.3% higher than it was a year ago.
That's unbelievable.
So the cases
is that in
are
Ohio or across the country?
This one, I believe, is national. And this is according to the CDC's Data Tracker Weekly Review. If you look it up today, this is current as of September 10th on the CDC website.
So it's almost 100%
more than when
last
we
year,
were
so
sitting in
double,
here this time last year not working.
Yes.
with 3/4 of the population being vaccinated.
Now, and these
And
are
this-
reported cases, not deaths, not hospitalizations, just reported
Sure.
cases.
Yeah, but that in and of itself would make a person on the fence of getting the vaccine that again, it supports if their position is, I don't want to take it because it doesn't work, because it's dangerous, because of whatever. You look at that number and you say, well, geez, if it works at all, we wouldn't be in that position. I'm not saying it's the right argument, but that's going to be what a lot of people rely on.
Well, I'd also like to know, because along those lines, it's also, is that quarter of Americans that haven't gotten the shot, are they young? Are they non-immunocompromised? Are these people who are looking at this saying, guys, I'm in the 0.000%, who will be negatively affected by getting COVID, other than maybe just having a sniffle, being asymptomatic, or maybe having a cough for a couple of days. I'm not going to the hospital. My chances are so small that I don't need the vaccine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's another part of it. So if a majority or a super majority of the people who are still holding out are saying, look, I'm healthy, I don't mind if I get it. I'm not likely to go to the hospital. I'm not likely to die in this scenario. Why would I get this vaccine? I mean, we have to take that into account. I think our immunocompromised, our older population, all the people who have comorbidity issues, maybe that's a more serious issue for them, and they really need to look at the vaccine as an alternative because they might get really sick.
Yeah, well, and then you've got the whole, I've already had it, I've got antibodies. I mean, it's the same old, which my opinion is that data continues to be in some way, shape, or form kind of taken not only out of the equation, but out of the general news sources. I mean, you just never see the studies on that unless you dig. And there are many studies out there about that, but instead we're just told, well, you got 3 months. That's just flat out not true. It's not what the data says. It's not true from even my own. I know that my antibodies are high and it's been 9 months. So everybody's different. I get that. But nonetheless, we're not hearing about that. It's not part of the equation. And why is it not part of the equation? I think because it doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't work. It would certainly, you guys would agree with me, I think, it would certainly keep people that had COVID and had symptoms away from taking the vaccine. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a caller?
We may.
All right, let me check.
Just some quick facts here too. This COVID tracker says that 49% of Ohioans are.
We got Bruce.
I think
I'm
Bruce is
vaccinated.
back.
Oh, Bruce, you on?
There he is. Hey, man, long time no talk. How you been, Bruce? Yeah.
Ooh, calling him out.
Yeah, you called me out. The summer got pretty busy with the kids and the traveling and everything else. So We're back at it now, though, and we're excited you called in.
So it just.
I mean, they're overcrowded. They don't have means to sterilize everything all the time. 12% are fully vaccinated. 40% have had 2% of their vaccinations. Why isn't it just running rampant through there? I mean, they don't have means to sterilize everything all the time.
Yeah, you cut out there for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you are.
Oh, you're back. You're good.
That was kind of my main topic. I was looking at that a couple of days ago. They're pushing this vaccine so hard, but India's not. They've got their numbers of cases are up by in the neighborhood of ours, but they've got so many more people.
Well, sure. So the percentage is way lower, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they've got over 1 billion more people than we have. And yet their deaths per million is only 317 versus our current death is 2,027. And these are World Media numbers, which I think are updated. I don't have it on the screen, but they've been updated in the last probably few minutes.
Well, that's Bruce. Those are pretty interesting stats, and I'm surprised that somebody hasn't found that website's offensive and shouldn't be shut down and viewable for the rest of us, considering
I think
what
we
it
should
shows.
cancel it. Let's cancel it.
That's really interesting, Bruce, and it goes to show. I mean, what do we really know out there? What are we being told that isn't necessarily a data point, but more of a political talking point?
I mean, even I scroll back, their total cases per 1 million population, current cases, are 23,000 versus 124,000 here in America.
And we've got three-quarters of our population vaccinated, and they have 12%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Bruce, what did you think about Biden's talk yesterday?
Yeah, did you watch it?
Were you excited?
I actually missed it because there isn't anything he has to say that excites me. I can read about it later, and I don't have to worry about losing any IQ points.
Or you don't have to worry about your blood pressure going up either, I would guess.
No. I mean...
I'll always tell you what he says, Bruce. I'll give you the cliff notes. I got your back.
Okay. Yeah, right. But no, I don't worry about what Biden has to say. I can pick it all up in 5 minutes reading rather than listening to him stumble through it for 20 minutes.
Yeah, there's a thought out there that they should just turn the teleprompter around so that we can read it. It would be easier than trying to decipher through whatever buffoonish language is coming out of his mouth.
Whatever mumbling is occurring.
I truly got to wonder sometimes. I was reading something recently about it's amazing how a party whose motto is vote blue no matter who was actually able to push the biggest idiot of the bunch to the front of the line.
I think about that all the time. They had those yard signs like any competent adult 2020, and then they pick the arguably least competent adult that was on the primary field.
So, Bruce, do you work for a company that does federal contracts or has more than 100 employees?
Oh, no.
Okay.
That's
Lucky
good.
you.
About 30 of us that where I work, we basically cater to rich people. So
not me.
Yeah.
I don't know, possibly you. I mean, I don't know. We service and store exotic sports cars, and
Oh, that's neat.
it's a huge facility. They finally put a sign up on the wall outside. My last shop I worked at, we didn't even have a sign outside.
Well, they're not going to require you to take the vaccine, though, right? Your employer's not pushing that on you.
No, we had a discussion about it once because my boss and his wife and some of their other employees went and got it, but I told them no, and that's the last time we discussed it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, obviously they respect choice, which is good.
I also have numbers to throw at them, and from Great Britain and other places, and sometimes I actually tell them I feel sorry for them if they got the vaccine, but we'll have to see how all that works out. So just leave me in your will, please.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, thanks a lot for calling in, Bruce. Really appreciate it. You always have good points to bring up, so thanks.
All right.
You have a good one.
day.
Take care, buddy.
See you, Bruce.
All right,
Thanks, Bruce.
See ya. Bye.
Always great to hear from our listeners, and Bruce certainly one of our
Yeah. I like that
supporters.
guy.
Yeah,
Me
he's
too.
fantastic.
I like that
And thanks
guy.
for bringing that perspective and those data points to us, because it's important for us to understand what's happening around the world, not just here.
And that's the whole point of this show, is to give you other things to think about. Because if you're just somebody watching the CBS Evening News, let's be honest, you're not getting, half of probably what's out there. So it's good to have other information to look at, consider. Nothing that we necessarily say is we're relying on other sources as well. But the concept is you take all the data and you make your own decision. You don't just listen to Bubba Biden stand up there and give us a good old spanking for not doing certain things that he thinks we should be doing. But speaking of
Number 6.
number 6,
That 25% can cause a lot of damage, and they are. The unvaccinated overcrowd our hospitals, leaving no room for someone with a heart attack or pancreatitis or cancer.
So I've been seeing this a lot. I spend a lot of time on social media and try to look at both sides of the argument. And a big narrative going on right now is that unvaccinated people should be turned away from hospitals because they're overrunning the hospitals. They've made their choice to not get vaccinated. If you're going to ignore the advice of the healthcare professionals, you should not benefit from their services. What do you two think about that?
I think it's garbage. I think it's absolute garbage. And look, we all have personal choices to make, right? And this is a vaccine that's, I want to call it untested. I know people will hate that, but we've only got 8-9 months worth of data on it. So for a lot of people in their own minds, that's untested. So it's going to be that decision between them and their doctor. We've got people that have been making poor health choices for the past, civilization. And they're the ones in the hospital who need this medical attention. We're not out there regulating their dietary intake.
I was going to say,
saying
this country in particular, I mean,
obesity, heart disease
is a massive issue. If you travel overseas, you don't see big people. There's a reason for that.
I'm sorry, you eat too much red meat. Yeah. We're not going to do that heart transplant for you.
Sorry,
you should go to the back of the line.
You shouldn't have eaten all those cheeseburgers. I'm sorry, but we can't help you.
Yeah, like why do we give Narcan to people that have drug overdose if people are responsible for their own, poor medical choices?
We do that because we choose to help people regardless of their choices. We choose to help people.
Except if their choice was to not get the COVID vaccine.
Well, don't
Every
forget,
other situation, we will help you, but not this one.
Don't forget doctors take an oath, and I'm pretty sure that oath doesn't change dependent on your vaccine status. I think the oath is the oath. So if you come in and you need care, the doctor is to give you reasonable industry standard care, regardless of that. So there could be some issues there with and I wonder if this will come up, Matt. I wonder if somebody was turned away and they happened to get COVID, or they had COVID when they were turned away because they weren't vaccinated and they die from it. Is there going to be malpractice actions out of that? I mean, I certainly think there's a good argument for one.
Certainly.
I mean, if you've turned someone away based on the fact that they have made a health choice that is not attractive to you as a doctor, or you don't think is correct or right or whatever it is, how can you get around that in a malpractice case? I mean, I would say that choosing not to treat in that type of a situation could be one of those things, almost like not diagnosing something that was right in your face and you chose to ignore it. So it'll be interesting to see if any litigation comes out of that down the road. I don't know. All right. What do we cut? 8.
These pandemic politics, as I refer to, are making people
sick,
causing unvaccinated people to die. We cannot allow these actions to stand in the way of protecting the large majority of Americans who have done their part. I want to get back to life as normal.
I like this for one reason. Can I just say I love this because this reminds me of when he came into office and preached unity. This says unity to me. There's no divisiveness whatsoever between the vaccinated and unvaccinated. I think he just drew the line about as clear as you could. The bad guys and the good guys. Generally, when you do that, you don't find unity in that equation. So nice work, Joe.
Well, and then he also just a few minutes ago referred to it as a pandemic of the unvaccinated. So if it's just unvaccinated people, how are they affecting the vaccinated people? Like he just said, we can't allow these unvaccinated people to ruin it for everybody else. But if their vaccine works and they got it and it's only a pandemic of the unvaccinated, who are they ruining it for besides themselves?
It's a bunch of circles that we all go in with this stuff. And
we'll circle back to it later.
We'll circle back. Did you find by chance, I know we didn't get too heavy into the numbers, but I'd like to see the quote breakthrough infections. I'm not sensing that it's a breakthrough as much as it is a pretty common. It's becoming common because the math doesn't add up. If you're saying 3/4 of the United States has been vaccinated and a quarter hasn't, but yet these numbers are like through the roof compared to when we didn't have vaccines. Can you really honestly call it a breakthrough?
I think we've lost the concept of breakthrough. I think it's just
is that gone now?
It's
I hope it
admitted.
is.
It's admitted that vaccinated can still get COVID. It's just they tell you that it's not as severe of a strain of COVID. Because you have the vaccine, the effects will not be the same. So it's not necessarily a breakthrough anymore. It's
Benji would disagree with that because he was vaccinated and had it. But I mean, you're going to hear about people and obviously that's going to vary between just personal acquaintances as to who happens to get
those
it
are all
again
anecdotal. All of it's anecdotal. The one-offs are just one-offs. The general stats tell us so much more.
Yeah. Cut 9.
Mm-hmm.
I'm announcing tonight a new plan to require more Americans to be vaccinated to combat those blocking public health. We must increase vaccinations among the unvaccinated with new vaccination requirements. This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and those around you.
Isn't that a personal choice?
I'm beating the gavel.
Objection.
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle that, Joey. I don't think that's that was by far, I think, the statement that offended most people.
Yeah, it goes back to a year ago. The governor of New Jersey openly admits on the news that he didn't really think about the Bill of Rights when he was imposing any of these mandates or restrictions.
Right.
It's it was above his pay grade.
Yes.
Actually,
Yes.
where the
Yes,
words
it
he
was.
used, that's above my pay grade.
Above my pay grade.
I'm not worried about the constitutionality of what I'm ordering.
Yep, that's not important. The law does not matter because I am going to make the law.
It's the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. Well,
And for all the people that mock the unvaccinated for, I care about my freedoms. Well, Joe Biden right there just admitted that this isn't about your freedom.
No,
so,
it's
really
not.
good impression, by the way.
It's not about.
Thank you.
It isn't about your freedom at all, and that's just that took it a step too far. I think for everybody that really cares about what freedom is and the concept of personal choice, especially when it comes to our own bodies. I think that was the one that's going to really stick with a lot of folks that maybe were even on the fence about this position. And then hopefully they think if they can do that, if they can take away that freedom, one person, not the legislature, not based on lots of, data that's necessarily accurate, but instead just one individual can take away all of our freedoms. I think that's the thing that's going to hopefully pull people back into reality. Wake up, America. I had to do that. I mean, that's our theory, or our theme. I brought in this gavel. I have no idea how we went 3 seasons and never thought how fun it would be to have a gavel in the studio.
Did you put it on the outside of the table so I couldn't steal it from you?
I did.
Because I noticed it used to be over here
Do you think it
the
should
other
be
day.
in the
And
middle
now
so that we can all make objections when we need to?
I do think so. Yes.
I'm open to that.
Yeah.
I am open to that.
I'm going to need
So-
to bang that gavel to close out the show or something.
or
That looks fun.
Perhaps we need to have 3 gavels and we can all use our gavel kind of like blackballing different
Can I get a
ideas.
whistle, actually?
We'll look into that.
All right,
Kazoo.
thank you.
I know where you can get a kazoo. The guy outside my office.
the guy
every day.
downstairs. So look, we're talking about Wake Up America. We're talking about freedoms. We're talking about all kinds of things, and people have been so willing to just let politicians walk all over their freedoms. I go back to the Ben Franklin quote. This is my favorite quote, one of the best I've ever had. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
Right. It's very true. And all joking aside, the scary thing is people are either they're tuned out entirely and they just don't care. And that's fine because we live our lives. Many people hate politics, fully understand that. I actually, for a long time, wasn't that involved in politics until maybe 5 years ago. But the scary thing is, like I said in the monologue, this is about our kids. Most of us, at least at this table, are getting to an age where we may make it through all of this before it could get really ugly, but our kids might not. And it's just a call out there to pay attention to what is going on and pay attention to what you could do yesterday, but now you can't do today. And that might be small. It doesn't have to be so just, monumental that it slaps you in the face. But the small things add up to the big things, and they don't get to the big things until you got enough small things. So you got to pay attention.
That frog in boiling water analogy. That if you try to put the frog in a boiling hot pan of water, it'll get scalded and jump right out. But if you put the frog in room temperature water and then incrementally turn up the heat, it doesn't notice those subtle changes in temperature and boils to death.
It dies. Yeah. And it could be that in this day and age, there are a lot of distractions that weren't there before. I've given this some thought. I think that people are just more distracted than they were maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago because we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have social media. You went to work, you enjoyed life, you enjoyed your family. But I don't think we were a society of distractions, or somebody that knows a lot about distractions, the master of distractions over here. But I don't think that we were there. And I think now we are. And it makes it so much easier to accomplish this agenda of stripping away things that really do mean something. And in the aggregate, they mean a hell of a lot. That's the difference.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I would agree too.
All right.
I'm
off my rant. Sorry.
I think we're on 10,
10.
but it might be 11.
Tonight, I'm announcing that the Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees that together employ over 80 million workers to ensure their workforces are fully vaccinated or show a negative test at least once a week. We're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers. The vaccine requirements in my plan will affect about 100 million Americans, 2/3 of all workers.
There's an objection for sure.
I got two.
You know what he just did? He just walked into the private sector.
Yes.
Legally, that's a big problem.
Which he said back in December, he did not have the authority to do that. So did the Constitution change from December to now that he now has the authority?
Well, think about how we started
Or he just doesn't care
It's
anymore.
over his pay grade.
It is over his pay grade. And we started it with the federal employees, which arguably speaking, right or wrong, I think there was some legal authority for him to do that. But the minute that he crosses the line and goes into the private sector, objection.
Yes.
I liked the part of that quote where he said, we have to protect the vaccinated employees from the unvaccinated.
Not divisive at all. Again,
well, not only that,
unity,
but they're
unity.
vaccinated. If the vaccine works, what the hell do you care?
This is
If
what's
it's a
been going on
pandemic of the
forever.
unvaccinated, then they're not at
Yes.
risk.
We have to protect the vaccinated from the unvaccinated employees. Let me play
devil's
contradiction.
devil's advocate here. The new theme is if everybody's vaccinated, somehow there won't be the one unvaccinated person that will keep the virus alive. That's the theme. That's what they're going for here. They're saying that if everybody's vaccinated, the virus can't live. How's that true? Because people that are vaccinated are still getting sick. So to me, this is just the cold. This is the flu. It's never going away. There'll be a new booster or new shot every year.
Every 5 months for this one.
Well, right. It's a super booster. But But think about that. I mean, it's not going to go away, even if we apparently, because the vaccine isn't 96 or whatever the original quote was of its effectiveness. In fact, the Moderna vaccine's been lowered to like 66% at this point.
Oh, damn, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then this never goes away. But is anybody surprised by that? Because it's a variant of the flu anyway. So we've never got rid of the flu. So it's almost, what's the play? What's behind it? What's the play? Like, why do we treat this so much differently than we do other things that we're never going to get rid of? I mean, HIV will never go away. It'll always be here. I mean, there's definitely drugs that have assisted, people with that.
Helps treat it.
Helps treat it. And we won't get into the potential treatments that we're going to just keep ignoring for COVID because that would interfere with our vaccine campaign. But in all honesty, there are definitely some treatments out there that work quite well. I took some treatments when I was I took steroids, and I took the one I can't pronounce, hydroxychloroquine something.
You drank Clorox.
I think hydroxychloroquine was the one they call fish tank cleaner.
Yeah, I took that because my doctor prescribed it to me, and in 2 days I was back to normal. Now I did spray a little Clorox on it though, because when Trump
for good measure.
Well, mostly because Trump told me to put Clorox in my mouth, so I figured he's got to be right about that. But I'll pick on everybody. I have no problem picking on anybody.
I was gonna say, well, in his defense, he didn't actually say that, but
some variant,
potato.
Some variant of it. All right, 11.
My message to unvaccinated Americans is this: what more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free, safe, and convenient. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. So please do the right thing.
Young man, my patience is wearing thin.
Stop staring at my hairy legs.
I mean, that's what I started to feel like it was my
talking
dad
down to you,
talking to me like, young man, my patience is wearing thin. So what is there for people to see? What's he referring to there? What else is there to see?
Well, he's hallucinating half the time anyway. So
I would like to see some long-term data, some consistency from the people in charge who are giving us this data. I'd like to see a little progress on maybe the origins of the virus and that investigation.
She's clearly crazy.
I think she's asking for like credit-worthy information.
Oh, yeah.
Just goes back to like one of the old adages from when you were a kid. You don't like if a person pulls up in the white van and says, hey, I got some free candy.
Cream. Yeah, the ice cream guy.
Those are people you're supposed to be skeptical of. So when you're trying to get me to get this vaccine because it's free, or not just free, we're going to give you a free year of Krispy Kreme donuts because we care about your health.
What about
$1 million?
What about some lottery stuff?
Yeah.
I kind of like winning money.
Yeah, free beer,
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to cut 12.
My plan also takes on elected officials in states that are undermining you in these life-saving actions. Right now, local school officials are trying to keep children safe in a pandemic while their governor picks a fight with them and even threatens their salaries or their jobs. Talk about bullying in schools.
That was loud. I didn't see you put these clips on a different bit rate, so they were a little noisy. Or they were a little quiet, and I had amped the volume. But yes, what was that exactly?
That these teachers are being threatened with their jobs by their governors, and that's bullying. But didn't he just give like isn't he about 3/4 of the way through
a bullying speech about non-vaccinated people?
Yeah, now he's going to threaten their jobs if they don't do it.
I felt a little bullied during that speech. This is so outrageous.
I laughed when I heard that last night.
It's just a hypocritical argument.
But it's also outrageous. What you're again saying is I'm a dictator. I'm going to find a way to get these people out of my way because they got to do it my way. All those things sound like I'm a dictator. Yeah. Am I wrong? I mean, to me, that's
I just threatened all of your
who's,
jobs.
Who's the fascist and the dictator now?
Yeah, right. Is it the governors that are making these decisions, or is it you that's telling them you're going to get them out of the way? Can you imagine if Trump would have actually said to other governors that were maybe more left-wing, I'm going to get you guys out of my way? I don't think that would have gone well.
Hysteria.
Yeah.
In the media, there would have been hysteria, and they would
Impeached
have whipped
again.
it up. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Multiple impeachments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which again, I'm not picking sides here. I'm just saying let's be honest about what we're hearing and how would the media have responded. I think we all know.
It's not, I think that because I've picked my side. I see that hypocrisy and the double standard, and that is what kind of makes me come down on the side that I do. Because when the media is like that, what's your agenda for why you cared so much to go, nuclear every time Donald Trump, tweeted while he was taking a dump? And now that the people are doing arguably worse, more fascist type stuff, you're not saying not a peep about it.
Maybe because when he's giving a speech, he's also taking because he's old and
Yeah, it depends on, so he doesn't even have to go to the bathroom.
I think it's clear that
it's an idiotic
that
statement.
there's bias, that
Right.
we see the agenda. I don't think there's any.
But I just want people to
ambiguity
understand that I don't look at that because I had preconceived political beliefs. It's that hypocrisy, that double standard is what concerns me about what's going on in America right now and why I do come down on the side that I do.
Well, you're never going to be short on double standards right now. That's for sure. And then again, that's an idiotic statement that he made. There's a separation, obviously, of the federal government and the state government and governors and the federal government. This concept that he can just brush the governors out of the way legally is absurd. And that's why there are numerous governors that are now suing his administration to try to reverse this policy of mandates, and they probably will be successful. I think they will, because they've entered into the private sector, and the damage and the harm is not just what happens to those that lose their jobs. It's the fines that are going to be sanctioned against the employer, and that's going to be their argument that this crosses the line, and I think they'll prevail on that. But for him to say, I'm going to, in essence, get these other people out of my way is. It's all propaganda. It's BS.
Yes.
You can't do it. So, all right. One more, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
We cannot let unvaccinated do this progress, undo it. We're going to continue to improve the care of those who do get COVID-19. We're increasing the availability of new medicines recommended by real doctors, not conspiracy.
He did that weird whisper thing at the end where he leans forward and goes,
I got to go back and hear that again. All right, we got to be quiet. Hold on.
Cannot let.
I thought I heard that. I thought you'd whispered into the mic.
This progress, undo it. We're going to continue to improve the care of those who do get COVID-19. We're increasing the availability of new medicines recommended by real doctors, not conspiracy theorists. Get vaccinated.
Oh my God! That is so creepy.
Yeah, he does that whisper thing a lot, though.
Conspiracy theorist.
Hey, Kelsey, have you got your vaccine?
Get vaccinated. He did the other night, too, or something. He's like, pay
so
your
smart.
fair share.
Oh
So
my God.
clearly-
How did I miss that? I haven't even heard anybody else make fun of that yet. That's fantastic.
Clearly,
you.
whatever
Good-
shot
good
they
catch.
whatever shot they had given him, so that he could perform. No, so that he could perform through that speech started wearing off towards the end of that speech, because his words started just going downhill. His ability to pronounce things, and I feel bad for him. We've talked about.
I'm
this
done
before.
feeling bad for him. I'm to the point. I
other
felt
people
bad for a long time, but you know what?
Yeah,
I don't feel bad.
I
for
feel
him
bad for the
because-
for the United States of America.
Yeah,
I have,
feel
like,
bad for the country. How's
Visceral
that?
secondhand embarrassment whenever
Yes.
he talks. Like, I
Oh.
feel bad for myself.
Yeah, it's
watching this.
Exactly. It's like when you're watching somebody that gets up to sing, all right, and they have a terrible voice, but they believe they have a great voice, and they're singing in front of a huge crowd, and you're sitting there and you don't even know the person, but you feel so uncomfortable because you know they suck and they're terrible at what they're doing, And it's that kind of a feeling. I feel the same way. Like, oh, what's he gonna say?
Yes.
How's he gonna come out?
But just to do it where he mocks the, like what you were talking about a couple minutes ago, the other treatments. I just think it's interesting that every single potential treatment that has come out, whether it's hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, whatever the other ones are, they've just shit all over all of them and called people that you conspiracy theorists.
Only the vaccine works.
Only the vaccine.
Work. Yeah, you're right. And that's obviously, again, how does that make a person feel that is on the fence about maybe I'll get the vaccine? So now I'm a bad person for exploring ways to treat this in the event I contract it.
That, by the way, my physician is telling me
that my physician
is a
says
way
this is
to
a way
treat
to
this.
treat it.
Yes.
So now you're, again, terrible marketing campaign, worst marketing campaign of all time. They need to do marketing studies on how bad this is to, train people that want to work for companies on what not to do to get people to buy a product.
Well, in all due respect, they do have 3/4 of the population have already bought in.
Do you know what? That leaves a quarter left that haven't.
Again, crazy
Good
math.
I just did that in my head.
Well, and that was one of the other things from one of the couple clips ago. He said said a couple of times that it was 80 million Americans that were left over who haven't been vaccinated yet. And then when he was talking about his mandate, he said this is going to affect over 100 million.
Yeah.
So where that 20 million people, if there's only 80 million people that are holding out and not getting vaccinated, how does that affect 100 million people?
They're the ones that identify.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah. They're in like a different class of people.
They're not truly unvaccinated.
No, just, yeah.
Got it. Science.
Science.
It's science.
As Nancy says.
Get vaccinated.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I'm really excited to be back in the studio again. What about you guys?
This has been great.
Yeah.
I love being back in. We need to get more on our schedule.
Yeah, we're going to start. Kelsey and I had thrown this around last week, maybe doing a morning show so that people can listen on their way into work.
Okay.
That's going to require Matt to get up earlier than 10 a.m. when he normally gets up in the morning.
Not going to happen.
You can sleep in the studio.
You're not going to make it to the studio. So, yeah, but we are throwing that around, and that might be nice because at least, I know during the business day I'm busy. I don't always have time to listen to.
I do have a day job too that I have to be at, so I'm not available all the time.
Well, at least for now, until you're fired for not being vaccinated, and then
that's true.
Yeah, you got that issue. So
yeah, you guys might be getting me full time here pretty soon.
Never know. But yeah, we are going to increase the frequency. We're excited about the season. I think we weren't getting exhausted by any means in terms of getting away from the law or law ideas and what do you do in these situations. But I just think there's a lot more entertainment value to what's happening right here than what we might find. And we won't get fully away from that. I do encourage everybody that if you have a legal question at any time during these shows, go ahead and send it over our way because we're here. And if there's a way we can give you some guidance, happy to do that. So don't think, oh, geez, they've swapped to more of a political type format and I can't ask my legal questions anymore. Please.
We do it all.
We do it all. This is a one-stop shop, baby. One-stop shop.
Please remember, everybody watching and listening, to go to our YouTube channel. You can search for SOL Legal Podcast and smash that subscribe button. We'd love to have you. You'll get up-to-date information on all of our content.
That's right. And Kelsey, I'll let you end the show today with this gavel since you wanted to,
wrap
give
the
it
gavel.
a good wrap before. So until next time, this is Shake and Bake, the Special K, and the Iron Man, signing off on Season 4, Episode 1 of the SOL Podcast. Oh, come on. You could do way better than that. There you go.
We're adjourned.
Thank you for listening to SOL. Join us next time on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and iTunes. For additional information or questions related to your legal matter, contact the Baker Law Group at 614-228-1882. That's 614-228-1882. Be safe, know your rights, and follow the law. This podcast is adjourned.